Hey, welcome. No, we're muted.
Oh.
We are live.
Awesome. We are live. Welcome to another episode of the Explain It podcast. We have some awesome guests here. First and foremost, I'm your host, Stephen Hunt, and we also have
Ingryd Hernandez.
and our awesome guest here today. Why don't you guys go ahead and introduce yourselves real quickly?
My name is Drew Adiaga from Houston, Texas.
And I'm Chai Pansalkar from Houston, Texas as well.
H-Town. As you can tell, we're not in our normal studio setup today. We're actually in Houston, Texas to visit these awesome dudes and come here for HostCon as well.
Yeah, I'm excited.
You good?
Yeah.
I love it so far.
Nice and muggy. It's like a nice
It's
warm.
not too bad today. It's not
No,
too
too terrible.
Yeah, I'm gonna
Oh.
get the temperature down a little bit.
bad. We are in Chai's studio right now.
Uh-huh.
There's four of us sitting in here in a tiny little room, but we're making it work, right?
Room, actually.
Yeah, it's a good little
Anyways, today we are talking about the realities of owning real estate, owning your rentals, and the twist is Texas because we are in Texas, and we're here talking with Drew and Chai and like what's it like to own these properties? What are some of the hiccups that are nuances to Texas? But we'll talk about the typical stuff across the United States if you own properties, but primarily, like, what are some of the things that you have to be aware of as a Texas rental owner? So let's talk a little bit about you guys. So how long, Drew, we'll start with you. How long have you been real estate investing in, and how many rentals do you own?
Yeah, so I've been investing for like 3 years now. I own 22 properties myself and then with partners as well too.
So I've been in real estate around a little over 10 years or about 10 years, at a 10-year mark. And I have been a wholesaler, I've been a flipper, but more importantly, I've always wanted to hold on to properties. So over 10 years, currently as of today, my portfolio looks like about 100 plus properties between me and my partner.
Between you and your
So
partner.
awesome.
Yeah, the amazing Prakash.
Oh yeah.
The guy who will make you hike 13 miles with 3 hours of sleep. So just so you know, that's what happened to me. in
That's
Montana.
When was that? When was that? I don't remember that story.
What?
Was-
In
You
Montana?
were there.
Was I there or did I sleep in? I think I slept in.
Somebody's
I said I had to work for context. I was like, you know what, I gotta work, guys. I really did not want to go. Yeah, we're fine.
Yeah, I had a baby, so I got to use that as my excuse. Yeah. I can't now.
The real reason was we ran out of monsters.
Yeah. More monsters whatsoever.
Oh, sorry. Only one out of four of us was impacted by that decision in Montana. But okay, cool. So obviously, you guys own double digits, triple digits of rentals.
Yeah.
So we want to know, like, what is it like?
Yeah, is it everything everybody says that it is? Is that it's free cash flow? You get to live for free on the beach, doing whatever.
Oh,
you
very
want.
passive, yeah.
Very passive. Yeah.
I will say this, that when I got my very first rental, guys, you should not do this when you get started. When I got my first rental, I didn't care who was going to get in there. I just wanted to put somebody in there and rent it out. And our first property that we bought with an FHA loan, we ended up turning it into an Airbnb. And we said, hey, we're going to accept any guest that wants to get in there.
Oh, fun.
And you know how Airbnb boosts the algorithm up a little bit?
Uh-huh.
Well, they boosted somebody up, did not have any reviews, wanted to check in last minute, wanted to stay an extra day, wanted to check in early, destroyed the entire house.
Oh my
They just
gosh.
broke it.
Yeah, like there was weed all over the place. There was pee and poop inside the house.
Oh my
Like
God.
my cleaner had to spend a lot of money. That was my first guest. And at the
What?
time, my business partner, which was like freaking out, like, what is going on? What are we doing? Did we make a mistake? So I would say like my cardinal sin number one is like, don't rush into it, right? Especially when you put a tenant in there, whether it's a short-term rental or a long-term rental. I would say don't really rush into it because you can
100%.
run into a lot of problems. And if you don't have any excessive capital around, it's not passive. You need to have money set aside for reserves all the time
Mhm.
because you never know what something's going to hit, right, Chad?
I mean, I don't know about you guys in Phoenix, but considering Houston, I mean, Phoenix is a big city too, but Houston gets a lot of people every day, like it's a growing city, growing metro area. So we get a lot of good and bad people. And I have come across, I mean, so many bad applications where literally they have fake pay stubs, they have services verifying their employment for a fee, fake services, I mean, fake employment verification. So I've come across all these things, and I mean, whatever Drew said, I couldn't agree more.
So,
It is so important to wait and like literally have a good gut feeling about the person you're putting in.
what I was gonna translate to what you were saying is you actually should have a level of standards and like what those
Expectations, yes.
standards should be to be met. So like from your perspective, a long-term rental, you wanna make sure you have a process that says, how are you gonna verify employment? How are you gonna make sure they haven't fudged things like pay stubs from you? It's like, okay, maybe at least when you first get started and you don't have the reserves yet, you want to make sure they've had, reviews and that they've actually been a part or a client in Airbnb or whatever short-term rental platform you have.
And these standards are good, but I like to tell people that before you build standards and then hand off your process, understand the process first.
Yeah.
Because
Agreed.
it takes time to build your own gut feeling.
Yeah.
You have to literally work in the business before you let other people take over. If you take over too early, it's not gonna.
My first eviction that I went through, she paid 4 months late. She kept telling me, hey, I'm gonna pay next week, I'm gonna pay next week, I'm gonna pay next week, I'm gonna pay next week. And then it never happened. And then at that point, honestly, I didn't do the eviction because I was like, I don't want to go through this process because I've never done it.
Yeah.
But another thing that I will say is a good advice is to have really good friends like Chai, like Prakash, like all these other landlord friends that I have. Because I was calling them like every week, like, hey guys, like I have to do this eviction. What should I do? And he was just like, just hire an attorney, like pay $500-600 for an attorney to do it for you. And I was like, okay, I'm going to do it myself so I can learn. I'm glad I did because now going through a second eviction, now I know the process. Now I'm walking through my other partner through this eviction process.
I mean, hiring an attorney or doing it yourself, either way, it's fine. But going through that experience and getting that out of you is getting over that fear that one day someone's not gonna pay the rent and I'm gonna have to evict them. That feeling is gonna eat you up. So one day, when that day comes, use it to your advantage.
Yeah.
Go get that person evicted.
Yes.
Move on.
Yeah.
And I think keep in mind too, for the audience that are listening, is like, we're not trying to say, don't be a landlord. That's not what we're trying to say. Our message is more, you have to come to the realization that real estate is not passive and it's never going to be passive. As long as, again, setting the expectations and setting the right standards for your business is key. And if it doesn't fit what you're looking for in your business, that doesn't mean you're a bad operator.
Yeah.
It just means that it's just not what I'm looking for at this moment. And I'm okay, willing to let the property go vacant for another month so that I can get the right person in there.
Yeah.
And if you don't have reserves to do that and you're desperate, like I got to get this filled now, you're going to cause yourself a lot of problems in the future.
It's
Yeah.
always like sometimes short-term gains will deprive you of the long-term benefits because, like Andrew said, you're trying to put someone in and trying to stop that loss of, taxes and insurance that you're paying out of pocket while nobody's staying. And the moment you put someone bad in there, it's just gonna start going up because they're not gonna pay you, and then you're gonna pay to evict them. So it's
Right.
gonna be worse.
Yeah.
So one thing I don't want to say contradict. Most of what Andrew said is all 100% correct. It's not a passive business. However, it can be passive if economies of scale is there and you know what you're doing, and that takes at least 3 to 5 years.
At least.
Okay, at least.
Yeah.
And we are in such an inflationary environment. What took me 15 properties to do is going to be 30 properties from someone starting now, especially in Texas, because taxes have gone up, insurance has quadrupled in some cases. It is madness. And on top of that, rents are not catching up as much as we thought. And on top of that, Section 8 is cutting funding, which
Massively.
Really?
Yeah, massive.
Because we just saw an increase in Arizona. Yes, that's so
Really, yeah.
interesting.
So here in Houston,
So it's weird. It's weird. It's not the way you think. Their funding is where it is. In fact, government increased funding to hurt, but the voucher funding is being cut down. They're changing their whole infrastructure or processes to where we are still. It's just coming out. We are still working off of old vouchers. So within the next 6 months, we are gonna figure this out. Like is gonna get ugly before it gets better.
I know a lot of operators that are in the community that all they focus on was they're going to acquire 2 to 3 properties a month, just do Section 8 here, and they're pivoting now completely. They have 3 or 4 houses that are just pivoting to, and it does get tough. I think if you don't have the right connections in place, there's going to be a time and place where you're going to have to pivot.
Yeah.
Right. You can't predict the market for everything that you do. But when you do pivot, you need to have that network of community people like Chai. I mean, I'm so blessed and lucky to be here. I'm not successful, and I'm going to speak on stage at HostCon. I'm not speaking on stage because I'm great. I'm speaking on stage because I've networked connected with a lot of people like Chai and Prakash that have elevated
Really
me
you on
at a
that
high level.
platform. It's
It
really
is them for sure, 100%. Yeah.
No, but I mean, it goes. The feeling is mutual. I mean, because of Andrew, we get access. I mean, it's all. I mean, I call Andrew my wingman.
Yeah.
And I like to think that I'm his wingman too. But we don't store girls; we just store property.
Yeah.
That's great. Now, what about in the sense of having somebody else manage the properties for you? Do you feel like it's more passive at that point? Because in my experience, right, you still have some level of involvement no matter what, in any circumstance. Is that how it's been for you guys, or why do you choose to self-manage them too?
So I'm self-managing because I just choose to, because I want to go through that grind of figuring it all out before I completely offload it. But I have a couple of properties with other business partners. Their motto is, I want to offload it. I want to offload it. Okay, so we have a property right now that's a problem headache. That's the one that we offloaded to a property manager.
Oh, that's so great.
Right? So our contractor went out there. I'm talking with them. I'm doing everything. I'm talking to the tenant. And our property manager is really not doing anything. Right? So in my case, we're still paying them 10% for them to do what? To, get phone calls. So for me, it just logically, I'm not there yet. Luckily, I have a good mix of short-term and long-term rentals.
Yeah.
So I can manage a lot of the LTRs that are in my personal portfolio. The other ones we can kind of self-manage with my other partners that are more of my operators in a sense. But yeah, if you have like a property management company like yours, like I've talked to a lot of your clients that you guys have, they're like, dude, we love them because they help us. They do it on time. They're on top of their shit. It makes a massive difference when you have a business like yours versus all the other crappy ones that are out there.
Totally. And this is more so geared towards the person that doesn't own a property management business too. I get the cool benefit of when you're talking about infrastructure, having an infrastructure behind me, being at the office every single day where my property management business is located. But most people don't have that. So what's your experience been on that too when it comes to managing?
Same thing. I self-manage everything, and we have a team in
Wow.
place and some amazing people. But one thing we do differently is all our property management is offshore. And that is the coolest part. I like to take pride in the fact that I'm very good at managing people overseas. Someone who comes from another country, someone who's an immigrant, I understand what people feel. I understand how people feel and how to work with them. Basically, I can relate to them. I can talk their language.
But you're giving them a job. You're giving them money.
Yeah, and we are paying them top of
You know what?
top salary.
I was just having this conversation with our Drew,
Uh-huh.
Drew Brantley, who runs Habu Property Management. And I was telling him, I remember going to Arizona State and I took a class which covered extreme poverty. Like that was the topic. And you can have a perspective to say, why are you giving jobs, globally, virtually and whatever. But when you look at it from a different perspective, especially where there's a lot more extreme poverty, yes, there's poverty everywhere, guys, everywhere, even the United States. Yeah. But there's some places where they live off of less than $1 a day, and having opportunities like virtual assisting and to be more professional in a country where it would be harder, right? Like the opportunities that are available, maybe more oriented to farming or more oriented to other types of labor intensive roles. Yeah. So we're actually helping lift that country by being able to give 100%. Those virtual roles out. And so when I was telling Drew about this, literally we were talking about it yesterday, how like I have a different perspective now because it's a one more rung up on the ladder of helping that country come out of that kind of poverty.
Totally. Totally agree.
So that's amazing though that you can do it virtually and
I mean, there is not much to do. Infrastructure will be set up locally.
Yeah.
So Edith, she manages a lot of things in our business.
Yes.
And Edith is Hispanic. She's fluent in Spanish, and she and again, the reason we need Spanish speakers is because a lot of labor or a lot of contractors that we like to work with they don't speak English.
Yeah.
And fortunately, unfortunately, the ones who don't speak a lot of English
Mhm.
tend to give you a better service and better rates.
100%. Yeah.
So having that Hispanic speaker on your team builds that relationship up front, and then all you have to do is pass that relationship to your offshore team, and they can send a message in English, translate to Spanish. That's all.
I know.
That is.
Google
After-
Translate, I
It's
swear.
so
It's so good.
Yeah. So when you talk about infrastructure, you're almost talking about building your own in-house property management team, your core team of people that's gonna take care of these properties. So that way, Shy's not getting a phone call in the middle of the night.
I mean, our manager Pia, who runs the property management, and she has maybe 2 girls with her. I mean, she is so independent now. Like she has the power. She will literally fill out all Section 8 paperwork, send it to my email, then go in my email, sign it, send it to them, fix everything.
Because you
Like,
authorized
yes,
it.
yes. So, but she's at that level.
Yeah.
That I trust her that much that I gave her my email access.
Yeah.
And my accountants are offshore. One of them happens to be my brother, who also goes in our bank accounts, sends out wires, sends out like salaries, contractor payments. All I have to do is approve all day long.
Yeah.
That's great.
And you deserve that. So you deserve that level because you've put the time and effort into
Yeah.
creating
I'm still very
infrastructure.
engaged. I'm still
Yeah.
very engaged. Some of the things I like to do is set up the foundation right, like finding and working with the right contractors is my pet peeve. Like, or not. That's my favorite thing. I'm sorry.
No. The opposite. of-
Opposite of that.
He's an immigrant guy.
Yeah.
Okay, forgive him. But if your
No, my
favorite
pet
thing.
peeve is working with bad contractors.
Oh, yes.
Is so I like to work with good contractors, set up that relationship
Mhm.
or start that relationship off right
Yeah.
in the beginning. But the way it all came, or the way it all worked out over the years
Mm.
is we first went to a GC
Mm.
who charged us 25 grand for a lipstick. This was 7 years ago.
Wow.
And which should have cost me like 10 grand
Mhm.
in today's math. But then we were like, did I overpay this guy? Oh, how much did I overpay? So at that time, one of my friends came along who wanted to who lost his job, and then he came to me. He's like, hey, can we do something together? And I was like, I mean, I can teach you how to buy properties. He's like, no, I need more of an active income. I want to flip a property. So I told him, okay, buy this property. By the end of it, if you feel like holding it, you can hold it, or else we can split the profits and I'll help you all the way. So he did that flip so well. He was so engaged with these contractors. I told him, why don't you become my property manager? Because I want to run this experiment to get to the bottom of the price list. Like we started off at 25 grand for this rehab. I want to see how low can you take me. So we went from 25 grand all the way to 6-7 grand for the whole rehab, including materials. Literally. And then I realized 6-7 grand quality is not what I want or what I'm comfortable with. So we probably settled around 10-12 grand. But I realized I can cut GC pricing in half if I manage it. So now I know pricing. I know nobody can bullshit me basically about pricing anymore.
Yeah.
I know pricing of materials, I know pricing of labor. And it's a very simple rule of thumb, $200 to $250 a day in Texas.
Yeah.
If you're paying more than that, and it can be in any form. If contractor comes and tells you, okay, I'm going to charge you $3,000 to paint this 1,500 square feet house, you can ask him, hey, how long is it going to take you? How many people are you going to put to work? And you can calculate that daily wage because most contractors don't like to hear the daily, oh, can you charge me $200 a day rate? Nobody likes to hear it. So there are some tricks of the trade that I learned by putting my own money in it. I lost a lot of money along the way, but in the big scheme of things, I like to think that I saved a whole bunch, which could have been worse.
Yeah.
So
So it's an iteration thing. You learn by experience, you learn by taking a chance, and then recognizing that you're actually reviewing the decisions you've made.
Yeah.
Because you shouldn't be living the same day over and over again. You should be figuring out what can you do better. Right.
Or you can do it, act like me and hang out with people like Chai and hear this firsthand.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
Right?
Yeah, yeah.
That's what helped me out. Hearing
Yeah.
this to say, oh, it only costs this much. And then that's, to me, that's more of like a challenge. Like, oh, you can really get it for this price. Now, because I'm fluent in Spanish.
This one is. Is that your laptop?
Oh, it's
Sorry.
Might need a laptop.
Quick commercial break. Oh,
There it is.
there.
Somebody spoke.
Yeah.
I forgot what we were saying. But I think
You try
yeah,
to.
networking,
Yeah.
right? That's what I mean. One of our mentors, Pace Morby, says, network, talk with people, hang out with people, get to know people. And I think that's very powerful when you do that because you get to see the real life, like what he's doing on a day-to-day basis, how he can basically create a business, and I can come in and cut 3 to 5 years off of. I can cut 3 to 5 years off of my time, because I'm doing that.
Yeah.
Was it set up right?
This mic is
The wrong mic was on. I'm sorry, guys. Can you guys hear us okay? Let us know in the comments that you guys can hear us okay. And Dana has a deal in Corpus Christi.
Oh, let's
So-
look at it. Let's underwrite it.
check the
Where
audio.
in Texas do you guys actually
Buy.
invest in? Yeah.
So I like to buy in all the major metros, which is Houston, Dallas, Austin, and San Antonio.
Okay.
Dallas
Not
is my
Corpus
favorite.
Christi.
I don't have to go to Corpus Christi because I get enough
Uh-huh.
in these areas.
Mhm.
But if I end up having to go there, then I wouldn't mind it. I know a lot of people who buy
Okay.
go to Texas.
Dana, Chai's gonna hook you up, Dana.
Yeah,
Okay.
I get a lot of Corpus deals, by the way. I don't
Yeah.
do
They can
anything.
hear us. They can hear us. They're commenting. It's okay. So how about you, Drew? Where do you buy?
So I'm mainly buying here in Houston. That's what I want to keep it in my backyard, keep it close. One of my business partners, he just started doing a flip up in Dallas. And I was like, yeah, I can help you. I can basically run it remotely if you need me to, but I don't know like the rules and regulations. I don't know any of that stuff, right? You guys were talking earlier, you guys were dealing with that with Flagstaff, knowing the permits, knowing what's going on. To me, I'd rather not spend the time to focus on learning a new market. I'd rather just sit in my market and try to master it, right? I got a ton of stuff going on. I'd rather just I don't care to sit in my market for 3 to 5 years. I don't care if I'm missing out on 5 to 10 deals in Corpus, in San Antonio, in Dallas. And that's a thing that I learned from Chai and Prakash. They mastered Houston and then they're doing Dallas, right?
Yeah.
But they do Dallas. Why? Because they have a partner up there that's dominating Dallas.
Yeah.
They have partners in San Antonio as well too. So it's like, I learned a lot from them, not just from what they tell me, but even the conversation that we had last time, right, when we were in Montana.
Yeah.
You told me, and you weren't challenging me, but you were basically saying, hey, I've done a lot of my flips and I've done them using private money. And I thought, man, it's not a challenge, right? It wasn't challenging. You didn't say it in a challenging way,
No.
but I took it as a challenge because I was like, okay, Ingryd is doing this
Yeah.
and you're my friend. So I see that and I'm like, I want to do that as well.
Well, for
So
the
here we
record, the story was I didn't know how hard money lending worked.
Yeah.
And I actually didn't even know until Steve and I started flipping
Yeah.
because all the flips I was doing, I had a really amazing mentor who sold a software company. So he has money in the bank. And I was telling him what I was doing and he wanted to support me. And so he would just lend me his money. And so I didn't have to give a scope of work. Now, did I? I did. I was like, here's the primary things I'm going to fix on the flip. Here's how long I think I'm going to keep it.
Yeah.
And then what's even more amazing is when he lends me the money, I don't have to pay him anything, like no monthly payments
Yeah.
until the
Yeah.
flip sells. So then I didn't have to have working capital per se. so like it was like the most amazing scenario, and that's what I was talking to.
So
Andrew about.
But all of I've done, the only thing that I've ever done is hard money. I've only known
Yeah.
I've only known to float money. I
Yeah.
didn't learn until got into lending for a couple of years ago,
Yeah.
right? But when we're challenging, the point is networking, right?
Yeah.
Connecting with people, right?
Yeah,
And
you're
so
like, oh
when
shit,
you
you can
talk
do
to
that.
people like that, I realized it is possible. You can do
it
it.
is possible.
So for me, I took it as a challenge. So now we got to flip here in Katy. We're talking about it more at lunch. And I got 100% finance, right?
Yeah.
I don't have to bring any of my money. That's the purchase price plus the rehab.
But who is
all of it.
financing you on that?
Um, A private lender, yeah.
Oh, okay.
So at 13%, we're paying them 2 months guaranteed interest.
So he started with hard money and then moved to private. I think that is a better way to do flips because when you do start with private money is not gonna support you as a partner in your flip.
Yeah.
Because everything that you just said, like providing scope of work, having reserves, all these things you will only realize when shit hits the fan. And when things go horribly wrong, then you're like, oh shit, I missed a line item. I mean, we missed a line item. I mean, we missed more than a line item in one of our apartment complex deals. We are partners in. It's still on. It's an ongoing deal. But the original rehab was supposed to be 650,000. We ended up at 1 million plus.
Oh my
Again,
God.
in our partner's defense, 650,000 was supposed to be cost only. Because he's a partner in the deal, he was going to do it at cost. But then he missed major line items like demo or like some crazy amount of. I mean, that was going to cost hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
And then some delays also costed us. So it's not all on him. A lot of issues are related to the city permitting and stuff. But when you don't do scope of work, that's when you miss line items.
Yeah.
When you don't have reserves, that's when you get foreclosed. So things like that.
Yeah, and now on the flip that we're doing, I mean, I have 3 or 4 line items that I'm putting in there just in case. Like it's a no budget plus another 5 to 10% cushion, right?
Sure.
And then I'm gonna still work.
Yep.
So what you're saying is that like a hard money lender is going to teach you the fundamentals of what you should do every time, regardless of where you're getting your money from.
Well,
But yeah.
not teach you. It's not their business to teach you, but because they have their
Well, no,
money on
they
the line,
teach you
they
by
are going to keep
By
you
making
accountable.
you
Yes.
responsible.
They are your
You have to,
accountability
hey,
partner.
show us that you have a plan.
Right.
Show us that you
Exactly.
have the money. Show us that you have all these things.
Right.
So you're like, yeah, look, I have it all here. You're required to show them. Whereas somebody that's giving you 100% financing doesn't want any of that potentially.
It's like we were talking about banks in Montana.
Yeah.
So banks are going to teach you how to do how to do business the right way.
Right.
Like have your financial statements ready.
Mhm.
Most people start with what is financial statements?
Right.
Like they don't even know it. Like it's not about having it, it's about like starting that education.
Yeah.
So even though you're paying less in points and interest, and I mean this private world is pretty cool. Sometimes
That's pros and cons.
it's got its problem.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially
Okay.
if your private money lender is a little bit more needy, wants
Yeah.
to know, wants to learn. It's more, emotional. Because it's their money at the end of the day.
I think that you should be definitely a little bit more experienced if you're going directly straight into all the private money the
Yeah.
entire way through. You
That's
know?
not what-
Yeah.
We're envious of
seriously, and it was a virtual flip.
Yeah.
Uh, I think it was like our profit was like
You're
51,000.
so lucky.
Paper.
Everything.
Yeah, profit like net.
On paper, or you actually made it?
I made
She made money on it.
$51,000.
Oh, this is the Vegas flip. Oh, sorry, yeah.
Yeah, the virtual
Yeah.
flip, private money lending.
Oh, that's good.
I was
That's
like,
very
woo,
good.
That's so
yeah,
good.
yeah.
And then you thought flipping was easy.
I know. I was like, what are you talking about?
Double down.
What
Maur-
reserve?
Maurice says that she's been trying to get a hold of you about an opportunity in Haltom, Texas.
Ooh.
Where's that?
Did you hit me up on Facebook? If you did, I have not looked at my messages on Facebook in a little bit too
He
long.
likes Instagram.
Instagram's
So,
the way for me.
Definitely reach out to Stephen on Instagram at Stephen Hunt on Instagram. So let's go back to this rental stuff. And by the way, guys, if you're getting value from this, don't forget to subscribe because we're gonna be here every Wednesday with you. And like and comment. Please let us know what questions you might have. Let's go back to the rentals because obviously these are seasoned investors, so they flip flop between flipping and renting.
Same but different. Feels like. You know what I mean?
Because they have so much experience, and one does teach you a lot about the other.
Yeah.
But as far as your rental, so you're now, how deep were you into Section 8? Like what part of that makes your portfolio?
I would say almost over 50% is Section 8.
Really? Wow.
So we have over 100 doors, but not all of them are rentals. Some of them are notes also. So we have wrapped some of them.
Yeah.
So we don't need to worry about those for maintenance purposes, but we have to worry about collections.
Yeah.
So it's a different ball game. But as far as half of our portfolio is rentals, and then little over half is Section 8.
So a quarter, 25%.
Yeah, a
Mama
lot.
loves money math. So, okay, what I heard you
Yeah.
say is about 25% of your portfolio is Section 8.
So we
Okay,
are also partners in other things
Yeah.
besides our portfolio.
Yeah.
And those, I mean, some of our partners brought me in because they know I specialize in Section 8. So this apartment complex, even though I'm not 100% owner,
Mhm.
all the doors are under my management.
Yeah.
So they're all Section 8.
Right.
And there is few more with Dallas partnership we have that they are not able to move. So they are like, can we put Section 8 in? Sure, why not? So
yeah.
people who hate rentals are now going
Looking
to
at
Section 8.
Section 8.
That's so interesting. But with what you said, if the funding is being mitigated, like how are you pivoting, or are you even having to
We
pivot?
don't have that problem yet. We are seeing vouchers at a lower price point.
Okay.
So how they are going to enforce all this, because people will be out on the street. Like investors are just realizing the benefits of Section 8
Mhm.
and turning to Section 8 and trying to help with affordable housing crisis. And if they do this, if they play this card right when people are just thinking about changing their mind, because Section 8 has been horrible experience for a lot of like old investors.
Mhm.
So now people are turning around, and Section 8 has done a good job over the years. I don't know how this is going to unfold, honestly, because
Yeah.
this
So it's like they've taken so long to win over the hearts of investors. Now investors are finally coming to it, and then
Yeah.
they're changing the rules again.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's like during affordability issues, and so it's like
they haven't come up with any announcement saying why that is. I mean, if they have, then at least I haven't seen one.
mhm.
But we don't understand it yet what
Yeah.
they are doing, because on one side we see that HUD is getting more funding, but on the other side the vouchers are shrinking.
Yeah.
So it's weird.
Yeah.
Now, how are you targeting people in Section 8 if that's a strategy that somebody wanted to use?
Yeah, so it is actually very simple. People overcomplicate it. There is Section 8 vouchers everywhere. You can go the normal traditional route, list it with a realtor on MLS. There are a lot of realtors who specialize in Section 8 who have people with voucher as a client. But the best way to find a tenant on Section 8 is listing your property on affordablehousing.com. You can list it for free. Or if you have a premium account, there are certain like data points you get that makes your life a little bit easier. And then you can prospect some of the clients on your own instead of waiting for people to contact you, which happens too. And so you don't have to worry if you don't want to pay for premium membership, it's still worth it either way.
Yeah. So affordablehousing.com. I put it on the live there so that you can.
And that is the official website of Section 8 Pro. So
Wow. Okay.
there used to be a website called gosection8.com. I think affordable housing and then merged somehow. I don't know who owns what, but affordable housing is the right place to go.
And then on this website, will they get resources that tell them how much they'll get paid out by zip
Yes.
codes? So that's a resource for you
Or
as well.
premium accounts.
Oh, for premium accounts.
Yes.
Okay.
There is a rent estimator for premium accounts because it's a little confusing. And I have a podcast I did with Kent Hay talking specifically about Section. Actually, we should do one just on Section 8 because it's a lot of
Yeah.
we can talk
Yeah,
about.
we would love to do that.
But in short, there are certain things you need to know specific to Section 8 because the voucher sizes are. I mean, you will see the market rents are 2,000 and the voucher you have in hand is 3,000, and you think, oh, you are going to get $1,000 more rent. No shit, everybody was talking about Section 8, but then the rent reasonableness process is a part of Section 8 process. And when it goes through that department, they come back and say, oh, you can only get 1,800 because I didn't find comps. And you're like, I saw 2,000 and I thought I was going to get 3,000, but now it's 1,800. So you have to fight that battle with them.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
So you have to fight that battle. You can probably push it a little bit, maybe $200-300, which will waste another week or two of your time. So either just accept what they gave you or fight with them. Either way, I mean, it works.
Yeah. And how about you, Drew? Have you had to break into Section 8 yet?
No, I was gonna initially research it. I was researching it. I remember talking to you a couple months ago about it. Most of my properties, I have most of them long-term rentals. I have 6 that are midterm, and then I have like 3 of them that are wraps. And really, the midterm rental space has just been. You have a midterm rental here in
I do.
Katy,
Yeah.
and it does. The midterm rental market here in Houston is phenomenal.
Yeah.
Like, most of our properties are getting booked.
Yeah.
We just got acquired 2 more there in the Katy area,
Mhm.
and they're just doing so good. So we're doubling down on that model.
Especially if they're high occupancy properties. So the
Yeah.
energy corridor
Yeah.
down there, it's just constantly in motion. So there's
Yeah.
always people with solar or oil and gas,
Yes.
always needing a place. So
Yeah.
like my property is 5 bedroom, 3.5 bath.
Yeah, we have 4.5 bedrooms.
Yeah, and so it's big. It can sleep like 15 people or something. I don't remember anymore.
Will you get your bookings from Airbnb the most or
Furnished finder.
furnish finders?
Yeah. And so right now it's like it's booked $6,500 a month.
No, we have a
But-
couple of them like that too.
Yeah, but coming in September, we are they're supposed to finally leave. They've been there for
6 months.
6 months or something. So then we'll go
Yeah.
into
Nice.
we're if you have one, if you have somebody.
So, I mean, MTR, like what Drew does is even better than Section 8 all day long, but it just needs more robust management.
100%.
We are going that route slowly. We are going to launch our first MTR. So far, we've never had to think about it because my motto was increase the top line first, then worry about the bottom line. Like when I have enough properties to my, like whatever my goal is next year, I don't know. But let's say if I want to go up to 500 properties, I'll go up to 500 first, make sure each one of them is cash flowing, and then go back and then
Got it.
pick and choose and then convert.
So like make sure they're still
Optimize.
cash flowing your
Yeah.
minimum standards, maybe
Yeah.
200-300, and then maximize where they could take that one by one.
It's kind of like reading a balance sheet. It sounds like is the way that you're
Yeah.
doing this, right? You're going in there, you're saying, hey, I'm now generating this much revenue. Now what expenses can I pull back or how do I increase revenue?
Because my risk appetite is a lot higher when I have 500 properties cash flowing or 100 properties. So then I can take those risks. So, but yeah, I'm learning from these guys. I'm actually hiring him and his partner to manage one of our properties so that they can find some MTR tenants. for us.
Yeah.
Yeah, we want to manage as many MTR tenants here in Houston because we really want to get a pulse of the demand.
Okay.
The problem with MTRs is that there's no data out there. And you can use Furnace Finder, you can use Airbnb, you can use AirDNA, but there is no data out there. The only data that you can pull is actual businesses or actual properties that we have. So we're trying to collect as much data as we can so that we can figure out the supply and demand in those areas.
I see what you're saying. So like, I think I see what you're saying. When you say pulling business data is like understanding maybe permits that the city has pulled because maybe they're building a new something or, you know,
networking with other people too that have the same MTR philosophy and saying, okay, well, where are you seeing at? How much is your occupancy? How much are you guys charging? I
yeah,
think understanding that market a little bit more.
yeah,
We've been blessed and really lucky, but we're trying to gobble up more. I'm in a blessed position because I still have my W-2 job
Yes.
and I can still take risks on properties. Hey, like this may work as a short-term rental, but let's try it as an MTR and let's see the demand. If it does well, let's double down.
I went the other way. I went short term
Yeah.
and then went to midterm.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Mhm.
So we do a hybrid model.
Yeah.
Most of our stuff is hybrid. Like, hey,
Yeah.
let's
On
book
both
it short
platforms.
term. Yeah, on both. Well, we actually book stuff on like several different platforms.
Yeah.
Like, so we do it on Airbnb twice. We put it on our platform on Airbnb twice. We put it on Zillow. We put it on the MLS. We
What
put
do you
it on.
mean twice? Can you explain
So
it?
we put it on. This you can't technically do this. This is against Airbnb rules and their policies. Don't listen to
This
that.
is being recorded.
Blurt it out. But I mean, you can do it at your own risk. This is what we do, right? And we find success in it, right? So what we do is we put it on 2 different platforms on Airbnb on different addresses. We just change one number on the address. So on Airbnb, it looks like 2 different houses, but one of them we focus on short-term rentals, instant bookings. So it gets booked out right away. The second platform, which is here's the secret, is that you put it on Airbnb, change the address, but you turn instant bookings off and you do a 30-day minimum.
Mm.
Why? So when somebody has an emergency and they go look on Airbnb, they can't book it. What are they doing? They're reaching out to you and they're saying, hey, is this available?
Yeah.
And then you go cross-reference that with your other calendar to say, it is available. Let's connect with your adjuster and see if it works. So
Mm.
that way you're still bringing in the leads. At the end of the day, the business is still a top of the line funnel, right?
Yeah.
Still lead gen that comes in. So you're constantly taking in leads. And let's just say it does work out and they need to move in right away. Well, guess what? My property's not available, but I have a network of people that have it available.
Yeah.
Right? So it's not necessarily just there illegally because you're not booking appointments on there.
Right.
But what you're doing is you're just creating leads in the funnel. Same thing with the MLS. Same thing with Zillow. Same thing with all the
I
other
believe that's
platforms.
what you guys do, right? You keep your properties.
Yeah,
Always, always,
we never,
always.
never take them down.
Exactly.
So they're always listed all the
You
time.
have to be. You have to be.
Yeah.
And once they actually get filled, we'll actually put them down to low season pricing too while we're marketing them. So
Yeah.
like I'll get a $4,000 a month midterm rental for a year
Uh-huh.
on one of my properties, for example, and then we'll lower the price on the listing to $2,700. So that way people are interested and they're constantly reaching out about it.
Correct. Because you just want to build that pipeline. Again, that's all that. Those are all that.
Yeah,
Right.
right.
That's what we're doing in our business. And again, we have the blessings because last month in just the midterm rental portfolio, like the business netted like $7,000
Yeah.
just in cash flow for that month.
Wow.
And so that's really, really good. But again, none of my business partners, and this is why working with the right business partners is good. You guys work well together because you have the same philosophy.
Right.
For us, we don't have to live off of that.
Yeah,
money.
we don't take from the
We're not touching from that money. We're putting it back in the properties, putting it back in the business account. So that way, when our time comes, we have to pay back private money lenders, or we want to loan that money out, or we want to go do all this stuff, we can do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? Which is very
Or
powerful.
buy a new AC, things like
Or the
that.
phone goes out or the-
Yeah.
Well, and what's
That-
interesting, so part of what I don't own Taboo, I'm I don't know, I'm around a lot. But one of the things I noticed is that they needed more focus on midterm rentals, and I don't know if you guys know, but there's 2 more platforms coming to market. One called ministays.com
Mhm.
and another one called Schmedium.
Oh,
So I've been talking to both of the operators that run those platforms and loading up, Habu's properties on there so that they get more exposure. So definitely be on the lookout. I'll put it in the comments so
Yeah.
that you guys can load up your midterm rentals on it too.
Yeah, give us that connection. We'd love to reach out to them and
Yeah.
talk to them as well too. Because I'm trying to build a big portfolio here of midterm rentals. Now, the best part about midterm rentals is that you don't need a ton of them to be able to run them.
Right.
And the even better part is that once they're in there for a month, they're in there for a while. They don't really bother you at all, unless there's any issues.
No.
Chris,
What's
say
up,
hi to
Chris?
Chris.
What's up,
What's up,
Chris?
Yeah.
But I think I had something that we have a little bit of time. What else do you guys have? I have a couple of little fun little nuggets I can give people.
Oh, nugget on.
Yeah.
Bring it to us.
Okay.
Bring it
So
to
I
us.
would say, and most of the audience that you guys have here is more newbies, people that want to get into rentals. And I will tell you guys, the first thing that you need to do is have a process. When you're going to move a tenant in, you have to have a process. How are you going to screen the tenant? What your qualifications are? The reason I bring up qualifications is because here in Houston, you're going to get some markets that are going to cash flow really, really well. You can still meet one of the 1% rules here in Houston. Like people don't
Yeah.
know that and understand that. But in secondary and tertiary markets, you can still meet that 1% rule. Here's a catch. Their credit score is not going to be good. So if your credit score is like, I got to have it here and I have to have this, there's ebb and flow in what you want to do. And it goes back to what we were talking about earlier, is creating a standard, creating something like that to where you have that expectation to say, hey, I'm letting you, you're going to stay at my place. Here's my normal recommendations. Are we going to have an issue moving forward? And as long as you have that accountability with your tenant, at the end of the day, they're people. They don't want to get evicted. They don't want to have that embarrassing thing on their record. Most of the tenants that we have, they're okay. So if you have a standard and you walk it through with your tenant,
Yeah.
you vet them out correctly, you ask the right questions, you use things like Google Forms that'll help you filter it down. Hey, I'm interested in your property. Hey, great, go fill out this Google form. It has 20 questions. I'll filter it out and I don't have to ask you the same question, right?
Right.
So that's a gold nugget as well too. If you're going through rental applications for a long-term rental, use Google Forms. Build something out to where it's a simple application where it's 10 questions. Who's staying with you? Do you smoke? Where's your last property? You can ask simple questions like what's your credit score? If they lie to you when you run their background check, then you can have that conversation up front. If they tell you on that Google Forms they've never been evicted, you run a background check and they've been evicted, great. You caught them now in a lie. Now, how do they react to that is the question that I want to ask, right? And so again, at the end of that Google Forms, I always ask them, hey, is there anything that I'm going to run on you that's going to surprise me? Is there anything that I'm going to find out about you that will surprise me? And that gives people the opportunity to be honest. And people are honest right there, and you can tell, okay, this person has a problem, and they've admitted that to me. Now let's see how they react to that.
Yeah.
Right?
And you can also make up for some of those deficiencies. So if you're willing to go lower on your credit score, then they have to be willing to go higher on their security deposit.
Yes.
So those are the ways that you can mitigate.
So I call those, I label them in the sense like if you have 1X on my little application, you're gonna have to put down double deposit. If you have double issues, I will still accept you. You just have to put 3 months of security deposit down plus a month's rental.
Yeah.
So I'm not telling people, and here's
Will
the
still pay
Yeah.
that. And
Here's,
go
I
there.
agree.
but here's the issue here with Texas, and this is again, you need to understand your laws here in Texas. In Texas, if you deny somebody an application, you have to give them a written reason why you denied them.
Mhm.
And I don't want to go through that hassle, so I will sit there and say, I will
Actually,
accept you.
that's a pretty common rule,
Yeah.
by the way.
So
Just for
I will
having
say,
laws
yeah.
around it.
So I will tell them, hey, I will accept you, but here are my recommendations, and because of all these problems that we ran into, you're gonna have to give me 2 months of this,
Yeah.
and then you're gonna have to, you have a dog, so you have to have a security deposit, a non-refundable security deposit,
Yeah.
dog's month rent, all of these things. I'm still approving you. Let me know if you want to move forward.
Yeah.
Most of the time they say no because they don't have that fund in their account.
No.
Right.
So I would say that Google Forms is a really good hack. Making sure you have a right system when you check in. This is the one thing that I never did, and I'm running into this issue. As tenants are moving out, is I never got a check-in form for them. So what is like a form for them to check in with? Hey, your first day, all of these things are working. All of these things are like this. There's no chip on the wall. There's no break on the wall. Nothing's broken.
Yeah.
I didn't do that the first time around. And guess what? When I'm moving people out, what is their response? Oh, it was like that when I got here. It was
Yeah.
like that when I got here.
It's got
So do you
inventory
record
and
them?
condition form.
Do you record the walk-in?
I give them an opportunity to say, hey, here's how it is. It's all of it's brand new. There's no issues whatsoever. Fill this out in 24 hours. If not, I'm going to assume that everything is full. Everything is good. And that's it written in my lease. That's written all up. Again, that comes with experience.
Yeah.
So that way, when they check out, if there's any issues, like, hey, we went over this, right? Here are the things that we went over.
Yeah.
I would say those are good nuggets as well too. Honestly, do constant maintenance on your properties. Pest control, making sure you do AC maintenance, making sure you remind your tenants every quarter, hey, you got to change the air filter. Because guess what? They're not going to change the air filter,
Yeah.
and their air filter is going to mess up the AC unit, and the AC unit's going to freeze, and then it's going to have problems, and then all this other stuff's going to go down.
So we send out monthly to, I think quarterly, if I'm remembering it right, quarterly reminder for people to change their AC filter, and they have to send a picture. But again, I don't think we enforce it a lot. I probably need to do another training with our team to start enforcing it more. But a lot of what Andrew said, we try to do most of those things, but it's almost impossible because there are so many people and so many personalities, so many objections to overcome. So I try to manage my things very differently. I have an application where I have all their information, but I don't make them fill out anything. All I do is one conversation with them, either me or one of our managers, saying, look, if you have anything on the record, I don't want you to pay for application fee because you are going to pay directly. I'm not collecting your fee. We use this website called My Smart Move, and they pay their fee directly to the website. And you can set it up either way if you want. It's a free account. Anybody can start. So that's step number one. If you have a background, then we are not going to accept you without a larger deposit. So if you want to go through it, by all means. But I'm telling you upfront. So after that, I want to know who is moving in on that first phone call. That's I call it a screening call.
Mm-hmm.
So when someone shows interest, all I do is call them or have someone call them, ask, okay, how many people are moving in? Who are they? You, your husband, your partner, your kids, how old they are. I need to know. And then I tell them, hey, this is a quiet neighborhood. After 9 o'clock or 7 p.m., I don't want any nuisance here. Is that going to be okay? And a lot of what we deal with is Section 8 tenants now.
Mhm.
So I have to be upfront about
Mhm.
about some of these things because with Section 8, you will realize you are dealing with very different set of people.
Yeah.
And again, it's not that they are bad. They have gone through a lot in their life in general or are going through currently.
Mhm.
So it's hard to relate to their lifestyle because you've never experienced it.
Mhm.
So you don't, without judging them, you just have to protect yourself and your business.
Mhm.
So we do that. And then after that, I let them move in. Our standard is double deposit, always with Section 8. And we deviate when we feel it's right. So we tell everyone that it's a double deposit. And what hack I've come up with over time is, and most of them can't afford double deposit. Some of them do, and they pay and everything's fine. But if they come back and say, hey, I mean, if they are not aggressive personality, I tell them, hey, I can hook you up with some charitable organizations who will pay your second deposit, which they do. Which one of them is called Catholic Charities. They are also connected with I think rent assistance for Texas government.
Mhm.
So there are a bunch of charities like that that will pay second deposit, but they have to pay one deposit, because if they are not paying anything out of pocket, they have nothing to lose.
Mhm.
And then at move out, some of these Section 8 tenants will have destroyed your house beyond the fact that they can come to claim their deposit. They will still have the audacity to call you and ask you, hey, when am I getting my deposit back? So now you can either send those photos. So first I do is, as soon as someone moves out, I send one of our managers will go in, take pictures and just hold on to it. We don't send it to anybody, not even tenant, because we know we are not going to pay their deposit back after looking at that. We should be collecting from them, but we don't even want to go that route because it just wastes a lot of our time. So when they call, my standard process is, hey, you know how house looks like, right? Yeah, but I didn't do a lot of these things. Some like it was leaking or what, they will say whatever they have to just to make their point.
Right.
So when you get into that argument and try to win the argument, is you are going in the wrong direction.
Yeah.
So the easiest thing to do is let them win the argument, but don't start the argument until they follow up at least 5 to 10 times with you. Hey, what about my deposit? Hey, I still haven't talked to our management. Our contractor hasn't gotten back, because you have 1 month to return any tenant's deposit according to law. So they can follow up all they want. You can tell them whatever you want. And after you tire them out, on the 10th phone call, I tell them, hey, it is beyond, we have spent a lot more money than what we had from you. So I can either send these photos to housing and you will lose your voucher, or give you $200 out of my pocket for your inconvenience. What do you want? They will take $200 all day long, never call you again. Because they just want to feel like they won. And their time is a lot less valuable than your time. So you don't want to spend that time arguing with someone.
No need.
So those are some of the tricks I use. I just like to focus on managing relationships, and it does make sure they don't blow up. I mean, you just heard Prakash calling me. Someone sent us a notice because one tree fell in hurricane on his shed, not even his house, and poked a small hole on his shed. So people will sue you for whatever reason. I know I'm going to win that argument all day long in court, but now I'm going to call the guy and offer him, okay, you want $1,200, I can come to court and destroy you, or pay you $400 right now. What do you want? They're going to take the $400.
Can nobody negotiate like try?
So it's very easy, because 95% of the cases settle outside of court.
100%.
This is not even
Even if you go to court, here's the thing. Even if, because I've gone to eviction court a couple of times. Even if you go to all the way to the finish line, they're still going to put you in a room to say, hash it out before you see the judge.
Oh yeah, exactly.
Hash it out. Come to an agreement. That way we don't have to worry about moving forward. And it's like, yeah, you're 100%.
But again, going back to Drew's comments, it is so important to learn the right way before you modify it to your liking. It is so important, because when you don't know the right way, people will just destroy you in the argument.
100%. Here's the other thing too, and I like what you were saying, is you're screening your calls. Again, you're working with Section 8 tenants most of the time. So they have something to lose, versus the people that I work with. They're trying to hop from property to property at times. These are a lot of the people that you're going to run into, especially as a first-time landlord. And if you don't know this, really write this down. People that want to move in right away, they're ready to put in secure deposit right away. They don't want to wait till the weekend. It's like people like that, that's a red flag. Get away from them, right? If they say they're going to pay all of their money up front, again, another red flag. I would almost say, let's push it back a little bit more and slow it down a little bit. But again, you don't know this until you go through it. You're like, oh, that sounds good. Like you can move in tomorrow and I have my mortgage payment coming up and I don't have to pay it. Like that's awesome, right? But the reality is I'm not dealing with those and I don't have the time to take some of these calls. So I have a process in place to say, oh, you're interested? Okay, great. Here's this form. I'm going to submit it to you. Let me know when you receive it and let me know when you fill it out.
Mhm.
I can tell that they're serious. I can read their form. It takes me 10 seconds to read through it. And I can either filter it out or I can just sit here and say, hey, you know what? It's not a good fit. You don't have to go through the application process and spend the $50 and that's good. I use a platform called avail.co. Yeah, so Avail's awesome because I'm pretty sure you guys have an affiliate. So click on affiliate down low for Avail if you want to sign up for it. I use it. I put all my properties on there. It's an awesome starter, property management platform because what it does is it really just gives you everything that you need in one, right? If there's maintenance calls, it gets you on there. If it's the house got to go listed, it'll put it on there for you. Applications are on there. Lease agreements are on there. It'll send the lease to them, virtually as well too.
Wow.
So it's an all-in-one platform and guess how much it costs?
And it'll do state specific things too.
Yeah. And then you can modify the lease as well too, but guess how much it costs? $5 per property.
God.
Per property.
Yeah, so it's $5 per property.
Is it Avail or Veil?
Avail?
Avail.
Yeah.
So Avail is a car company as well too. So Avail.com is a car company.
Oh,
So
okay.
Avail.co is the property management company.
Yeah.
And it's really good. Now, the best thing that I love about Avail is that their customer service is phenomenal.
Yeah.
So when a tenant calls and complains about an issue, like you're not dealing with that. Hey, call Avail. It's a technical issue from the platform. You call them, they'll figure it out and they'll fix it right away.
Oh,
Yeah.
So
wow.
that's why I love Avail because it just a lot of the technical stuff. Hey, it didn't make a payment and got denied. That's not my processing. That's Avail, and you're already behind your release.
They will also take repair calls or?
It does
there's a
have the platform. The platform does allow you to
Oh, okay.
To
take
make
their
the
maintenance
requests.
requests.
Yeah,
Okay.
maintenance requests.
Yeah, and they can upload pictures
Yep.
of things that they want you to address and whatnot.
Oh, wow.
Sorry, I'm
No.
like, I know, I close your
That's it.
ears. I know you have property management company. But that's how,
That's
that's
good
how
for
I'm
sellers.
self-managing.
That's
Before I brought my properties over onto Habu, they don't have all my properties, but the ones that I am still
They need to have
self-managing,
all.
yeah, is I'm using Avail because Avail makes it that easy.
It does.
Well,
make
they're
it
not in Tucson, so like I have a property in Tucson that we use Avail,
Mhm.
and then I've used Avail when I was running my own property here in Houston, and so
By the time you guys are watching this, they're going to be in Tucson. They're going to be in Houston.
Yeah.
They're all over the nation.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't worry.
yeah,
Reach out to Steven on
So-
Instagram.
So
you have a
one,
property you want to
like
manage.
this Avail, I didn't even know about it, but there is so many
There are a lot of
tools,
different ones.
so many things out
yes.
there. So if you, talking about virtual assistants and using them in your property management can feel like weird to a lot of people. Like someone sitting overseas, how are they going to manage your properties? Because maybe they think you have to go meet people face to face, but nobody meets. Like I don't see my properties for months. Like
I haven't seen my
Yeah.
property in Houston in over 2.5
I mean, yeah, some of them I've never seen some of the
Yeah,
properties
yeah.
I bought. And even though I'm in Houston, I haven't seen some of the properties I bought in Houston.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, keep
it's the
properties
world
local.
is becoming a different place. We are
Yeah.
all
Virtual,
becoming
yeah.
global.
Yeah.
So my point is, if you are not good at using technology, get good at using technology because that's going to save a lot of money for you, a lot of headache. Because without technology, I don't think you're going to get much farther, like in this business,
Yeah.
So to
any business.
So to summarize kind of what we're talking about is yes, rentals are really hard, but if you have a system, if you have a process, if you have a standard that you're going to follow, at the end of the day, you can make this business work. I think the hack is connect with people like Shai, like Ingryd, like Steven that have property management company businesses that they know what they're doing and offload it off to them. But it's also good to learn it yourself as well too.
Mhm.
There are a lot of tools out there. So if you guys want us to come back, put in the comments that you want us to come back. We can go through like an A to Z
A to Z.
on how to literally screen a tenant, how to do this, how to do that, how to list your platform on Avail. There's a lot of different things that we can
You
do.
do a Colon school.
Yeah. If you guys want, we'll come back. Ingryd will have all of us back and we'll do this again at a time. But if you guys don't want it, then that's no problem. We'll come back.
No, I would love it, and I think there's going to be a lot of as we start pivoting and affordability becomes an issue. I think Section 8 is going to become a lot more pronounced.
Yeah.
So for sure. But do you have any more questions for these lovely dudes?
That was great
This was
information.
awesome. Yeah.
Truly.
Thank you, man.
Yeah, we
Thank you
really
for
appreciate it.
having
Can you believe it's already been an hour? It's been an
Wow.
hour, y'all.
Dude, I could talk for like 5 hours.
Well, if you guys don't know, Drew is
Yeah, I
going
was
to be
just gonna
taking.
talk about it.
Yeah, he's going to be speaking, and so we're excited for you. We're here to root you.
Yes.
Where are you going to speak at?
So Rob Abasolo has an event called HostCon. He's had it for the last 3 years here in Houston. It's a short-term rental event. It's a short-term rental conference. Pace Morby was the guest speaker last year, and they called and asked for Pace Morby back, and he's like, "Oh, let's let somebody else take the role."
Yeah.
And so
Let's go to the next best.
yeah, that's what they said. But no, I mean, I'm blessed and honored, honestly, to speak on that stage. I'm going to talk about my story, share my experiences, and really share a lot of really good nuggets. Cody Sanchez is one of the guest speakers. They're speaking tomorrow or on Friday. I'm speaking right before her, so that'll be really, really fun. I'm blessed and honored. I'm the type of person that I'll never take credit for anything that I do. Anyone tries to give me credit for anything, I always say it's people like Ingryd and Chai that have gotten me here, and I'm going to be on stage, but in reality, I'm going to have 200 people behind my back in spirit that have helped me get to that point. So honestly, I'm not super nervous about it. I'm ready for it, and it'll be fun. It'll be a fun little experience.
Right on. Okay, so if people want to connect with you, send you deals, how do they get a hold of you?
I would say on Instagram at Sub2Drew.
At
So
Sub2 Drew. Okay. And how about you, Chai?
It's my first name, Chaitanya, letter P number 2.
Oh my God, guys.
Instagram. I'm going to change. I'm going to have to change my handle.
Just put Chai Real Estate or something.
Nah.
The Chai Real Estate.
I'm just going to change it to Chai and some.
And thank you, Dana, for your comment. We really appreciate
Yeah, I
it.
love
Of course, you know you can always count on us when you need some rental assistance. So
Yeah.
wait, say it one more time, Chai.
Chaitanya, Chai, T as in Tom, Anya, letter P as in Paul number 2.
P as in Paul number 2.
That's how I explain my
Ah,
name
okay.
every
I
time.
got it. Okay.
But yeah,
If you guys want to get a hold of Sub2, he's Sub2. Drew, Sub2 Drew. That's his handle, or Chai. That's his handle on Instagram. And we're so honored that you guys would actually even host us while we're here.
Oh,
We appreciate you for
anytime.
some of my favorite people in Sub2, always giving, always wanting to share, and I feel like that's where we share a lot of our values.
Yeah.
We don't want to gatekeep. Like, everyone should have access to this information, and you can go as far as you're willing to put the work in. So,
And this is like these meetings, these friendships is where you get a lot of inspiration, ideas, MTRs, virtual flips, property management. I mean, you have it all.
yeah, for sure. Awesome.
Awesome. Thank you for coming.
Yeah.
Thanks for having us.
Well,
I'm
with
excited.
that-
Thank you for having us.
Right. Well, thank you guys, and we'll catch you next week again on Wednesday, 1 p.m. Arizona time on Explain It podcast. I am Ingryd Hernandez, and
I'm Stephen Hunt.
all right, see you guys.
See you guys. Have a good one. Bye.